President Donald Trump's decision to pause reciprocal tariffs while raising tariffs on Chinese goods has sparked significant discussion about its potential impact on consumers, businesses, and the broader economy. This move comes at a critical time in U.S.-China trade relations, as both countries have been engaged in a prolonged trade war. The decision, while seemingly straightforward, involves complex economic dynamics that can influence the wallet of everyday consumers in unexpected ways. To understand what this tariff pause means for your wallet, it's important to first grasp the basics of tariffs and how they work. Tariffs are taxes imposed by a government on imported goods. When a country raises tariffs, it makes foreign products more expensive for consumers and businesses that rely on those imports. In the context of the trade war between the U.S. and China, both countries have imposed tariffs on each other's goods, making many products more costly for American consumers and businesses. Trump's decision to raise tariffs on Chinese goods while pausing reciprocal tariffs is essentially a move aimed at shifting the balance of power in trade negotiations and pressuring China to make concessions. One of the most immediate consequences of raising tariffs on Chinese goods is an increase in the price of a wide array of products. Many of the items subject to tariffs are consumer goods such as electronics, clothing, toys, and household goods. These products are typically manufactured in China and imported into the U.S. When tariffs are raised, businesses that import these goods face higher costs. These additional costs are often passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices at the checkout counter. For example, electronics like smartphones, laptops, and televisions are often made in China and have been heavily impacted by previous rounds of tariffs. If the tariffs on these items increase, the price you pay for them could go up as well. Similarly, other everyday items such as clothing, shoes, and toys, which are commonly imported from China, could also become more expensive as businesses factor in the added cost of tariffs. This means that consumers, especially those who rely on affordable imported goods, may feel a pinch in their wallets. However, it's not just the prices of individual products that are affected. The broader impact of increased tariffs can ripple through the economy in other ways. Businesses that rely on Chinese imports may find their profit margins squeezed, leading to potential layoffs or cutbacks in hours for workers. Companies that manufacture goods in the U.S. but rely on Chinese-made components could also see their production costs rise, further raising the prices of finished goods. The U.S. manufacturing sector, which had seen some benefits from the trade war as companies sought to move production out of China, could also face increased challenges as the cost of raw materials and intermediate goods rises. On the flip side, the decision to pause reciprocal tariffs could provide some relief to U.S. businesses and consumers. Reciprocal tariffs were imposed as part of the ongoing trade dispute, with each country retaliating against the other's tariffs. By pausing these retaliatory tariffs, President Trump could be signaling an attempt to ease tensions and create a more stable trading environment. This could lead to a reduction in the overall cost of goods imported from China, as companies no longer face the burden of additional tariffs. For consumers, this means the potential for lower prices on certain goods that had previously been subject to retaliatory tariffs. The political and economic calculus behind this pause is also tied to the broader trade negotiations between the U.S. and China. Trump has frequently used tariffs as a bargaining chip in negotiations with China, aiming to secure more favorable terms for American businesses. By pausing reciprocal tariffs, he may be trying to create a more conducive environment for talks, giving both sides more room to negotiate without the pressure of escalating tariffs. This could lead to a breakthrough in the trade war, potentially reducing tariffs on both sides in the long run and alleviating some of the cost burdens on consumers. However, the tariff situation remains fluid, and it's important to recognize that tariffs can have both short-term and long-term effects. In the short term, consumers may experience price increases as companies adjust to the new tariffs. However, over time, if trade negotiations lead to a resolution of the dispute, tariffs could be reduced or eliminated, bringing prices down once again. The timing of such a resolution is uncertain, and the trade war could continue to drag on for some time, keeping prices elevated in the interim. Beyond consumer goods, the impact of Trump's decision to pause reciprocal tariffs could also be felt in other areas of the economy. For example, the agricultural sector has been one of the hardest-hit industries in the trade war. China has imposed tariffs on U.S. agricultural exports, particularly soybeans, pork, and other farm products, as part of the retaliatory measures in response to U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods. This has led to significant losses for American farmers, as they have found it more difficult to sell their products in the Chinese market. Pausing reciprocal tariffs could provide some relief to farmers by opening up the possibility of better trade relations with China. If China reduces its tariffs on U.S. agricultural exports, American farmers could see an increase in demand for their products, potentially boosting their income and helping stabilize the agricultural sector. The financial markets, too, are likely to be affected by Trump's decision. Stock markets have reacted to the ebb and flow of the U.S.-China trade war, with investor sentiment often fluctuating in response to news about tariffs and trade negotiations. A pause in reciprocal tariffs could be seen as a positive development by investors, signaling a potential de-escalation of trade tensions and a return to more stable trading conditions. This could lead to an uptick in stock prices, particularly in industries that have been negatively impacted by the trade war, such as manufacturing, technology, and agriculture. On the other hand, if the trade war continues to drag on and tariffs remain high, it could create uncertainty in the markets, leading to volatility and potentially negative effects on the broader economy. For international trade, Trump's decision could also have implications. The U.S.-China trade war has disrupted global supply chains, with companies around the world adjusting to the changing tariff landscape. By pausing reciprocal tariffs, the U.S. may be signaling a willingness to re-engage in global trade and reduce the barriers that have hindered economic growth. However, the broader impact of this decision will depend on how it fits into the larger global economic context. If other countries also begin to adjust their tariff policies or enter into new trade agreements, it could help facilitate smoother global trade and potentially lead to lower prices for goods in the long run. In the end, the full impact of Trump's tariff pause on your wallet will depend on a number of factors, including the specific goods you purchase, the businesses you interact with, and the broader economic context in which these changes take place. In the short term, you may see higher prices for certain products, particularly those imported from China, as businesses adjust to the new tariffs.